What's up, Ravens fans? Welcome into a free agency edition of Ravens Unscripted. We've got Garrett, Cliff, and Ryan here on the couch. We're going to maybe hand out some money to some outside free agents, see who's worth bringing in to the Ravens organization. Obviously, we're speculating here, but we'll have some fun. But first, a staple on Unscripted, love it or hate it. This just feels odd saying, guys, but love or hate the idea of bringing in LeVeon Bell to become a member of the Baltimore Ravens?
I don't hate it. I don't hate it, but I'm going to vote against it.
Gotcha.
I just think that the Ravens will have a possibility to add potentially a very dynamic running back in the draft at a much cheaper price. LeVeon Bell is a very special player. Obviously, if the Ravens signed him, it's a pretty big upgrade to this offense, and it helps Lamar Jackson a lot in what I think will be a run-heavy offense. But that price tag ain't going to be cheap. And I just think that running back is a position where you can find cheaper options. The Ravens have proven it over the years with some of these mid and late round guys.
Yeah, I just hate how much it's going to cost if you were to do it. That's what I hate. I love the player, but no, I hate the idea of paying all that to him when there's so many areas where the Ravens are going to need help to upgrade to get to where they want to go, which is a Super Bowl. And I think, like Ryan said, you can get a back. You can definitely, they need some wide receivers. Obviously, we don't know what's going to happen with some of their own free agents. To tie that much money up into LeVeon, as good as he is, no, I do hate the idea.
The money is concerning. I agree. But what better way to address this offense is to add a dynamic piece to this offense than to add one of the best running backs in the game? I mean, the Ravens need a home run hitter on offense, and that's exactly what LeVeon Bell is. He's been one of the best running backs in the league throughout his career. If you add him to this team, this is a run-dominated offense, and you add him to this team, I think that takes this offense to the next level.
I mean, it looks pretty nice.
It's going to come at a cost. It's at a premium cost, but it would be hard to pass up the opportunity to get that guy, and I think he would love the idea of coming here and sticking it to the Steelers. You know, I think that's something to consider.
Yeah, and I am curious what that cost will be, because what he wanted, he didn't get, and what they did without him and what that position, based off of what you guys have said, could affect those things. Offensive line, love or hate the idea of investing some more money in free agency in the offensive line? We'll start with you, Cliff.
Oh, I love that. I mean, they're all in with Lamar, all in with expanding the offense, but we know however they do it, offensive line blocking is going to be a must, a punch, in the face type of offensive line that they really want to build off of what they did last year. I think that they have to address that or try to, and in this draft, they may not be able to do it. So if you do it through free agency, however you get it done, I think, yes, I love that.
I like the idea of a free agent center. I think that's a position where you get better with experience. They had a lot of success with signing Matt Burke kind of near the end of his career and got some very good years out of him, won a Super Bowl with him. I think a signing like that, somebody who could step in, anchor the offensive line in the middle, and upgrade it would really be an addition, and then you draft a guard.
Garrett, Golden Tate's a name at the wide receiver position. Earlier we talked about the draft being a place to address this position, but do you love or hate the idea about bringing in a vet who's been proven, and it was up and down in Philly, but he joined them in the middle of the year last year, as somebody to keep an eye on if you're a Ravens fan in free agency?
I love it. I think the Ravens are going to need to address this wide receiver position. I don't think they're going to get one of the top receivers necessarily on the market, and where does Golden Tate fall in that receiver conversation when it comes to free agency? But I think that Golden Tate would be a nice fit for this team. He's done a lot. He's been productive throughout his career. He can move over the middle of the field, which I've said before, I think is really important for this team in terms of what the offense looks like with Lamar Jackson. So I don't think the Ravens are going to go out there and get the top free agent on the market this year, but I think that they could probably get they're going to have a little bit of money to spend. I think that Golden Tate could be an attractive piece.
Yeah, I love Golden Tate, but I love a lot of wide receivers I saw in the draft too. So if it's not him, I don't really love the idea. I think you got to be very careful. We brought in a lot of veteran wide receivers here. Some have worked out very well. Some have not.
I think we saved the best for last. And look, Eric Weddle moving on, a person we all loved and really enjoyed covering, but the Ravens decided to make that decision. And you have to imagine, Ryan, a lot of it had to do with the safeties that are on this free agency market. To me, this seems rare that you could have this caliber, names like Landon Collins, Tyrann Mathieu, Earl Thomas, as possibilities, has to be a factor. You're shaking your head like, nah, maybe not.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the Ravens definitely value the secondary very high. So it wouldn't surprise me if they do allocate pretty big dollars in free agency at the safety position. But, you know, you also chose not to allocate those dollars to Eric Weddle. So that makes me think, well, the Ravens also like what they have. And I think they do like Deshaun Elliott, who they drafted last year and who really did show some flashes over the summer of being a potential impact player. I think they do like Chuck Clark, who stepped in for Tony Jefferson last year and made an interception in Kansas City. Now, the question is, are you willing to gamble with those guys becoming full-time starters? I don't know.
Because think about how well it worked when you did this a few years ago with Eric Weddle. Why not just do that again with a younger version like Landon Collins?
I think the counter argument to that is that if you wanted to allocate veteran big money to a safety, then you would have just allocated that money to Eric Weddle.
Well, he's a different veteran than Landon
Yeah,
Collins.
you're
He's
talking
at
about
a
big
much
age
different
gap.
stage.
And while he was a Pro Bowler, we sat on this couch and there were metrics that would tell you that Eric Weddle had some deficiencies.
But there's also metrics that don't play into the stat sheet that show you that he was somebody that really organized the back end of this defense. And if you listen to the players and Wink Martindale at any point last season, they said that Eric Weddle was the one that organized everything on the back end, and he was sort of the straw that stirred the drink, so to speak, back there. So I'm just saying that my feeling is if the Ravens wanted to spend the money on an expensive safety, I feel like that would have been Eric Weddle.
Yeah, I think that.
You clearly love the idea of signing one of these guys. Landon Collins is your guy.
I'm a big Landon Collins fan.
I think he's great too. I'm just saying that my expectation is
it's a great point. I would just say that if you could get a younger straw along with C.J. Mosley, if he's there to help stir things,
and they're great players
at a similar cost, then I could see the reasoning behind it.
I agree with that.
Well, Deshaun Elliott, I think, is going to get an opportunity to show whatever he has. I think that we all want all these holes to be filled by guys that we like. Yeah. And at the end, when free agency and everything is over, the draft, there's always going to be some question marks on your roster. And for the Ravens, if Elliott can answer one of those questions, that would be a major, plus for them. And I think that they must, by this move, I think there's some indication that they think that he could be a guy, if they can't replace Eric Weddle with a veteran, who could step in there.
It's an exciting time in the NFL, and no one's playing on a field. We'll know more in a couple weeks as we see you again here on the Unscripted Couch ahead of the NFL Draft. We'll see you then.